Drip, have you worked out an intro for?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna have to ask someone who has like a good voice to be like, "Welcome to White Noise
Well,
with Drip."
no, that actually fits this
That's
little
what I'm saying. Yeah, and then we'll
what
do
I've
this
christened the intro music.
for the intro. Like I said, it'll be very like I told you, like public access. Like, hello, I'm Drip, and this is White Noise. Like, and then 20 minutes later, it's me going like, "See, Cody, the reason Cody Rhodes is like,
we'll get to
yeah,
that.
like
We'll get to
I'll
that.
do the full Ric Flair like
static, like welcome to Cody. Hi, I'm Drip, and welcome to White Noise. And then that static,
yeah,
and then zoom into you like fucking Cody Rhodes.
Well, you saw it in person. How it happened, but again, this is the second episode. The official pilot was, as you've already listened, here on the Patreon with Cal, who will be like my co-host through this journey. We had the great Mike Sempervivi of Wrestling Observer Live to stop by and chat Jay White. And that was me praising someone. Because remember, White Noise started out as a weekly topic segment where I would bring something to BRP that wasn't already on the docket. And it's like, what would you want to talk about, Trip? I'm like, oh, well, at that time, Jay White had been in Wrestle Kingdom and had like the 58-minute match with Kota Ibushi. And then there were the rumors that he could be going to NXT. He didn't. But so since then, we kind of have some other ones. And then we would joke like, oh, save it for White Noise, save it for White Noise.
Save it for White Noise.
And it would mainly be AEW talk because I was the only one of us four at the time that was like watching AEW and enjoying it. Or anything that related to a Undisputed Era, something like that. Finn Balor. Typical white boy wrestling, like, bro, like, what you don't understand about work rate, man, is like, it's about flips and dives and all of it.
Super kicks.
Exactly. You gotta slap when you hit that elbow. Cal, you gotta go. You just gotta like that's the stuff in Japan or like the stuff in PWG. So that's what this will be. This is a second episode, and as you can hear and see, we are joined by Mimi to discuss something I've been teasing since WrestleMania weekend when people saw my reaction or they heard me if they were there in the room. Yeah.
Adrenaline in my soul. You weren't hyped, Drip?
I walked out the house.
Oh, Drip.
No, legit. Like, ask Keeks, ask Rock, ask Fam, ask anyone. Donnie Lucci, he was there. I opened the side door and I walked outside, came back through the front. Yeah.
Why?
Right. You know what? Let's start by this. Tell me 5 minutes. What were you doing 2 minutes before the entry? From the time you heard his music to the time like during the match. I want to know what this whole journey was.
Oh, you mean like how they were building it up because Seth Rollins came out with this?
You.
I was just saying
what you were going through.
Right.
How you felt during the match. I want to know how you felt at the ending of the match, and then I want to know the after effects, like after that they went back into okay, next match. I want to understand how you were feeling for 10. Well, how long was that match? About 15 minutes? 15 minutes?
Yeah, let me check real quick. Oh, well, I guess Cal will be the stat guy for this
show.
I'll
check, don't worry.
So I want to know how you felt.
Yeah. Well, you were there in the building, so like you said, like the pop was gigantic. It was like
they were 21 minutes 40 seconds.
So I want to know how you felt for 30 minutes of that whole.
That's a good question.
Okay, so when Seth Rollins is standing there and the lights churn out, I'm just like, I pray, even though I'm not a religious man, I'm like, I hope Shane McMahon comes out. I am just like hoping for chaos.
You wanted that for the fans?
No, for me as a Shane McMahon fan as well. I'm like, I just please Shane McMahon, like come out, please, like. And then Cody Rhodes comes out. It's all wrestling only has his old bullshit about there's always but not some other royal family type shit. He comes up through the ground like he did before, and everyone loses their minds, and his fucking song plays. That's almost as bad as Judas, but we'll talk about that some other time. And then Corey Graves. I see. I wasn't so again. I walk out the house. I walk back in. I think as he gets into the ring. And the whole time I'm just sitting there just like, and like I'm tweeting, I'm just like, no. And then like 10 minutes later, no, as the match is still going on. And of course, like the match
No way did you feel like, you know what, maybe this is a good thing? And no way.
No. So we'll get into why I'm not a fan of Cody Rhodes after we go through this real quick. But like, so I wasn't really paying attention to the match at the time just because I was like, oh God, it's really happening. Like, because again, it was 3 weeks of kind of like constant buildup with
3 weeks of people working themselves into a shoot of being disappointed when Cody Rhodes didn't show up on Raw.
Every time.
Yeah.
Continue. Shouts out Dave. That was a Dave Meltzer thing too. I kept hearing him say, "Oh, they said he was going to be at Jacksonville."
Well, don't forget he did say that
That's
it was going to be Pat McAfee
too.
versus Vince McMahon. He did say that, and that did happen. So he's right about some stuff.
I think there probably were conversations, but
Jacksonville, if that had happened in Jacksonville, that would have been like the moment because
you needed
the ultimate level of pettiness. I would have respected that at least.
I will say,
be petty.
Mimi probably knows better than all of us, but you need this. Like this was the right exact moment to debut Cody Rhodes. I don't know what else would have made more sense.
But like the match is happening, and I'm not paying attention to it and we're all talking and all that, and just like can't believe what's going on, and I'm just not paying attention to it.
I'm not paying attention.
But I rewatched it this morning. It's a good match. Again, Seth Rollins carried him. Like
you had to watch it.
Yeah, no, I really had to watch it for the first time. Like, again, it's a good match, but I mean, he does his stupid. He looks like he might be going for his moonsault, but he turns into a crossbody instead. I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, did you just like, nope? The only spot I can really remember when we were all watching in the BRP frat house was when he couldn't fucking bridge up after Seth Rollins had like pinned him down. He's like, nope, can't do that. And I looked at everyone and I'm like, this is your king? He can't even fucking bridge up. I was like, he can't even bridge up. And I do remember like that's the only time it was just like, wow. I get like Mr. 3.5 stars. Ladies and gentlemen, he's right where we left him.
But that's the problem. You remember that at a certain point, no matter how cool all of that is, that pop, all of this was amazing. You still had to have a match. He was lucky that it was
he's
Seth.
A good wrestler. I've always thought he was a good wrestler. I never thought he was a great wrestler, which is what we'll get into over the course of the episode. He was always good. But when he gets in the indie scene, after I give you those images, Cal will post one of them in a minute. But
yeah.
But the Seth Rollins match happens again. Seth Rollins does his shit, Mr. WrestleMania for this generation. Guy who constantly has bangers on TV. They have a match, and then Cody Rhodes has to do like the crossroads, and then does the dust again. He has to call back. He does the Stardust. He calls back, and I've always liked his moveset. I mean, he does, like he has an homage or two to Hardcore Holly. He does the kick to the gut when someone's on the ropes. He does the Alabama Slam. He does the drop down punch like Dustin Rhodes, Goldust does. I don't mind stuff like that. Like when you have like real influences or inspirations or trainers, like do callbacks. Like that's dope. I'm not gonna be super like, oh, he just does everything that everyone else does. Like, no, like he has moments. I'm just saying, like, he never really had great matches, in my opinion.
No.
And this match was a good match. Like I said, like the crowd, they were red hot for him. The commentators selling for him. Watching it today is like, oh, with the whole went from undesirable to undeniable. I'm like, Corey Grace, if you don't shut up.
He had to earn the check that night.
Oh, God. Well, I was Vince McMahon be like, say it. Say he was undesirable. Like,
I gave you this reality show. You got to say it.
Yeah. And then he wins the match, which of course he was going to win the match because Seth Rollins, like, putting it like, he's lost 3 because I think I predicted on the predictions, which Cal still retained, that Seth Rollins was going to lose. You have to show him because you are the champion for now. But Seth Rollins lost to Kevin Owens in the COVID WrestleMania. He lost to Cesaro last year, and then he lost to Cody this year. He's not someone who can be affected by a WrestleMania loss, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
And but again, because there are the matches that will make the moments, not who won or lost, really. But yeah, for that match, I did not care at the moment. Like I was just like, oh, this is actually a thing. Finally, it's a thing. And now I'm like, what's it gonna be like when he talks on the mic? And then does the podcast interview first, which I waited to listen to. But Mimi, you had played it the next day when you showed up at the house. And how did I react when I heard these snippets?
My God. He almost went nuts and walked. Drip does this walkout thing, which is yes.
Come on, bro.
He walks out in a heartbeat, and so I was doing something.
Bam said, "If you don't get your hands off your goddamn hips or something like that, like
right."
Yeah, facts. Yeah, somebody should have told you something.
I think I heard him say like the Dusty Kids thing, and I was like, "Oh, here we go with this bullshit." Because that was the one thing he spoke out about when he was released. I listened to the podcast he did once he was released, and he would be like, for them to be like Dusty's kids, but when his actual kids are there, not do anything with them. I was like,
okay, can I talk now?
Yeah,
because you are very upset about this.
Yeah, he left. He's gone. He may have actually. He may actually. Is he gone? I don't know. Anyway, we'll see.
He ain't crazy. So I will say, admittedly, I was just like, when Cody Rhodes left, I felt like it was a good thing for him. I didn't want to see him go because among like maybe very few casual fans, I like Goldust or Stardust. Sorry, I thought it was funny at some point, especially he was doing some bit with Titus O'Neil towards the ending of his thing, and I kind of was feeling it or whatever. And so when he went and he showed that list, I thought the way he left, he was making a statement, and he made the statement in a way that wasn't too disruptive, in my opinion. And then when the name situation happened, when they were going back, the litigation issues with the name, I thought
copyright and everything, trademarking. I mean, so.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of crass for WWE to try to take his name away, especially what Dusty has done for the company. Like, that's one thing I kind of felt like they could have probably stayed away from. From my understanding, I thought that was settled, and he was able to do the things that he did. I, again, really like the way he left. Watched Wrestle Kingdom 11. Wasn't really impressed by that match. But as time prevailed, like I wasn't really paying attention.
Right.
And when this whole thing of AEW started coming along and they started doing that internet thing, is it being the elite? Was that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it still is. Yes.
Yeah. So, and he was doing these parodies of WWE and making fun and poking fun, and I was just kind of like, what? This is really not necessary because you're Cody Rhodes, like you're Dusty Rhodes' dad, and Dusty.
I enjoyed that stuff. I thought he was great on the show.
I know you did. So for me, I kind of felt like this isn't necessary. And then Chris Jericho came on board when AEW was born, and then he started ripping them a new one and talking about crazy stuff. Then I thought when Mox left, Mox was upset, but I felt like Mox did a very classy job of letting us know of his distaste. It was a bit different. It was a bit more palatable, I should say. And so once he started getting into ADW, the sledgehammer, the throne, all of that stuff, I just kept, if you go back to my tweets, you'll see, gosh, he wants to be like his dad real bad. Like, and it gave off, I want to be like them. And I was giving, admittedly, Brandy Rose a lot of crap too, because all of a sudden she was a chief brand officer, but she really wasn't walking the chief brand officer role. Like, she really wasn't in that role. And at that time, I was supporting a CBO at the time, and I know what that looks like, and that's not what it looked like. Like, and I equated.
What should it have looked like?
It should be, you should always be in the back end trying to build up the brand, trying to make the brand where it needs to be now. And she never had control of that brand ever.
You're saying it shouldn't look like this.
No.
It shouldn't be, here's your sledgehammer, honey, go beat the throne.
Because that looks like WrestleMania. What was that? 32?
It definitely looks like it did that look better than this?
Okay, so that's the thing. So let's go to this. Let's start. Like when you said, she laid out everything.
Yeah.
I didn't finish.
I'm sorry.
So then he's doing his work, and you know the what is that, the boys theme-ish kind of look, the table fire thing that looked god awful sloppy, like everything just looked very much like very rushed, and I didn't understand what was happening. And so during that time I read Dusty's book, and it gave me a lot of insight of who Dusty was, what he expected of his sons, what he thought of his sons, and a lot of things started making sense. So then read the Young Bucks book. A lot of things started making sense to me. Like, okay, this guy is kind of like in an island of himself. He's trying to do something, but essentially, this isn't the end all be all for him. This isn't it for him. And so there were rumors. All of a sudden, these rumors popped up before WrestleMania that he might go back, and I was just like, what? Like, a lot of damage was done a little bit, right? But in true Vince McMahon fashion, he is the type of guy where at the end of the day, it may not appear that he's loyal, but he is sort of a loyal type person. He never forgets, and he expects the same type of loyalty from you. So I was just like, maybe this might happen, maybe this might not happen. Never did I think that WrestleMania was going to be that place for him. I didn't think that he was going to give him that moment. And I was kind of like doing the Heisman with this one, because I kind of like, what? Like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, he's not even on their level. Like he's in the ghetto right now. And
He proved you wrong.
I am eating crow with hot sauce on China right now. Okay. And I am the first person to always admit when I'm wrong, always, because I feel like that's how you have to be open-minded, right? And I was just like, whatever. Drew used to come into our turnbuckle spaces all the time, talking about, oh yeah, you guys, you should be. He even tweeted me, you should be at MSG tonight. How are you not at MSG tonight? MSG is gonna be crazy,
right?
And so Ellis and I are like, what? Nobody's going to MSG. Nothing's happened to MSG, and nothing happened to MSG. So that he became the butt of the joke for 2-3 weeks after that whole MSG show. But I sat with him in April, and when that music hit, it was instant. Drip, it was instant. I flipped because I knew that I was like, they were taking so long with it. I was like, it's him. It's him.
And that's where, like, so I get called a mark over my comments about Dwayne Johnson, but then the people that badmouth Cody for the entire run of AEW, the minute they hear that song, an AEW known song, like that's what it's associated with before WWE, they fucking lose their minds. Because again, like what did Daniel Bryan say? Fickle. That's all wrestling fans are. We'll hate one day and then love the next.
Right. Like, but that's a different type of reaction than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, because I know right now you're not feeling him because you felt like he abandoned the ship or he just didn't.
I'll explain why. Yeah.
Point. But I want you to understand that as a casual fan, as a fan that wasn't a fan, that is not a fan of the product that he was on, to see him in that instant, I didn't even know whose music it was. Honestly, I didn't. I didn't know whose music, because I've never heard his interest music. I can never hear the music. When I heard the voice kind of gave me a little bit of a goosebump, because I was just like, I've never heard that kind of interest.
He's been wrestling until we've had.
Stop it. And then when he came, and when it was him, it wasn't. It absolutely was not.
You weren't ready for that.
Pop, but I'm going to tell you right now, he was overwhelmed with emotion. I know you guys saw that on TV.
Mm-hmm. He's always overwhelmed.
He's an emotional guy.
And
wait, you said
emotional.
Cody Rhodes?
My wife
He's an emotional. Yeah,
of course he'd be overwhelmed.
Yeah. And it wasn't and WrestleMania is that stage, honestly.
Yeah.
I'll said it. WrestleMania is that stage that you give somebody that type of return.
Right.
It was well deserved. I was like, I looked at Drew. There's a picture. I gotta send you the picture, Cal. There is a picture of me once that entrance came on. I was just like, whatever. But inside, I was like,
adrenaline.
This man needs to be. This is where he needs to be, and it feels right. It felt right. The press run that he's been on, being super transparent. He is. Yes, I was jealous.
Wait till he's champion, Drip.
My dad was.
Well, that's when I'll just stop watching it. Yeah.
Wait till he's champion, Drip. They ready for him. Look at him. Yeah, American Nightmare.
Well, that's that. So that's the now. We'll get to that at the end. That's how we'll wrap up the episode. So let's go back to the start. Mimi set the table well with. He leaves, and he had a right to leave. After when you hear those initial podcasts, he was in the right then. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm the son of Dusty Rhodes. I was never really going to get the fair shake that I thought I would, and I did everything they wanted me to, and I got over it. Mm-hmm. Legacy, dashing Cody Rhodes. When he had the Rip Hamilton mask, I thought that was dope. When he had the face protector mask on, that's kind of when I was getting back into a little bit, but not watching weekly.
That was around the time it was IC title and stuff.
Yeah, that's when he brought back the old school IC title, and then halfway through, he loses the mask and just becomes regular Cody Rhodes with the full length Jack, just generic wrestler. And he was having, again, I'd see the match. I'm like, yeah, he's still pretty good. Because it was weird. I mean, I saw him debut as Dusty's son, and then he's in Legacy. And at the time, I thought wrestling was still real. So I hate the heels.
Right.
Then, once I know everything and all that, like going forward, like when I'm starting watching, when he's having his run in WWE, I'm aware of everything outside the business and this and all that. He comes back. He gets the mustache and they pair him with Damian Sandow. That was a good team. That was a fan favorite of people. They had good chemistry and their dynamic was good. And then he becomes Stardust, which of course now has been looked at as like him being humiliated. Like they did that to his brother when his brother was babyface, the natural Dustin Rhodes. And he comes over. They also like that was Dustin trying to spite Dusty by going over and doing something so outlandish that it would like kind of sour on him. But I can understand him wanting to go out and prove himself as a top guy because he was, again, Mr. Mid-Card. That's how I've always used him. He would say it himself, like, I'm just a mid-card guy. He creates this list. Cal, can you put the image I gave you with him in the list?
The list, yes.
So he did a good amount of like those matches. He faced Adam Cole. He faced Dalton Castle. He did Bola and PWG. The Miracles, Mike Bennett. Him and Brandy faced Mike Bennett and Maria. The streamers thing, which is ROH, New Japan, PWG. The Young Bucks, we see how that went. We'll get into that a little bit later. Personal ring announcer Roderick Strong, Shibata, Trevor Lee. He only was able to do a few of those, but then you see the bottom corner. He ROH champion, and then the other one is IWGP US title, and then the NWA title.
Right. Interesting.
So with
what was the time frame of that? Like that list in that was a year or so?
That list was after he had been released. So it was 2016 or early 2017.
Okay.
It might have been 2017 because he had done
17, I think. No, 17, 17, yeah, 17, 18.
Yeah, because like me just like he had the match at Wrestle Kingdom, and they already announced that he'd be joining Bullet Club, which makes sense because that's the Gaijin faction, the outsiders, the foreigners who come to Japan, and it fit like with Cody, with Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Adam Cole, all of it. That made sense. And he faces Juice Robinson. It's again a decent match, and Juice Robinson was a Dusty kid. He was in NXT, and he had spoken on that. That's why he wanted that match. And then he closes that loop in 2019 at Wrestle Kingdom when he drops the IWGP US title to Juice Robinson, and he beat Juice Robinson in 2017. Juice Robinson beats him in 2019. That story's told, which is respectable in that aspect. But what that list shows to me is a guy who's like, okay, I got to win over these people that just see me as Stardust, which I watched a video earlier. He faces Shane Strickland Swerve at Defy. And someone chants Stardust in the crowd. Everyone boos. What does he do? He does the cartwheel and then and then flips the guy off.
Right, right.
But come WrestleMania, he does an arm drag to Seth Rollins, cartwheels, and boom, because now it's cool to do it. I'm owning it now. I'm taking it back. I'm
that's the
shutting
story.
those people up. That's been done. All that. Okay, sure. All right. Let's see. Time will tell.
But I think the thing is it's better to acknowledge this. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're, regardless of what he'd been doing for the last 5 years, this is what he was at one point.
That's how it was when he left.
Yeah, that's
what they remember.
It's a really big part of, I guess, the American Nightmare origin story. So it's better for him to at least call it out and do it on the grandest stage. You got to get that stuff out of your system so you can then be, a WWE champion. But
that's the thing. Like, he shows up Wrestle Kingdom. He did the same thing ROH the month before at Final Battle when he beat Jay Lethal, and then flips Jay Lethal off it. So like, he's guy in a Ring of Honor that won't obey the indie rules of like work rate and respect and all that. He'll be what Matt Cardona is in GCW, which a year from now we'll see Matt Cardona. I mean, Zack Ryder back where he was before. Just give it time.
Interesting.
And those two are close. That was the thing. Like, they were friends during their 10 years.
I didn't even think about maybe this is Zack coming back at some point.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that list, Matt Cardona is kind of doing his version of that. That list was, I got to prove everyone I can wrestle. I can do all that. That's why he was ROH champion. They needed someone like him who had, been on TV for 7-8 years consistently to bring eyes to their product. And the New Japan, same thing. They were making their way to the US. They were expanding. That's why they created the IWGP US title. The NWA is trying to bring itself back from the dead with Billy Corgan. Let's put the title on him.
I need another title.
And all this means for him is ROH title shows that I can work. IWGPS shows I can work. The NWA title, that's the title my daddy had. And what do you do halfway through this run? He dyes the hair blonde. Oh, whoa. The American Nightmare is a good name. It's clever. I like that. That makes sense. Like, that's
it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
Because like I said, I can respect him as someone who's close to their dad and who's lost a parent.
Mm-hmm.
I can respect him in that aspect. I mean, that man probably meant the world to him and still does, you can tell. With the dream tattoo on him. I'm not mad at him for bringing up Dusty like every time. I joked, like, did you know Dusty Rhodes was his dad? It was just me. Everyone knows I'm an ass. That was me doing that part. But
big asshole.
And him on being the elite, like I said, I liked him on that because I liked him as an actor. Again, and they were smart with what they were doing at that time. All right, so that's what's different. This is when it's like, nah, because what do? That's them, the Bullet Club at the time, but the guys in the elite part of the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Storming the Raw parking lot, and this man does the Independence Day speech that Bill Pullman does. And
he did the whole speech?
Pretty much, yeah. Like
that was the Raw parking lot?
Yeah, they invaded Raw. Jimmy Jacobs comes out. They hang out with Jimmy Jacobs. Jimmy Jacobs gets fired the next day or days later.
Oh, I remember that. But what time? How many hours was this before the show?
It was right away, like in the morning, I think, because as you can see, there's a few people. But they had said, like, I think they had teased and tweeted, like, we'll be storming the Raw parking lot on this day. And again, look at him. We see this years later in Jacksonville, right? Jericho comes out, Pat comes out, all that. But this is when you can see, like, this man is trying to make himself this leader of this movement, which is so anti-WWE. We're taking back wrestling for the fans. We're showing them stuff like this matters. But Terry and I agree, like, he hitched himself to this wagon in the Bullet Club, and mainly the Young Bucks part of the Bullet Club, which is why it was the elite being the elite.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to put himself as the frontman because they're not really the best talkers, or people already don't like them to begin with. They had bad interactions backstage at WWE shows. People just see super kicks and streamers, are not fans of it. All they care about is appeasing Dave Meltzer. Kenny Omega, again, quiet guy. That year he'd finally become Kenny Omega because of the 6-star match with Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. So they need a frontman of the band. They need David Lee Roth. That's what he is. Like, he's like, I'll say this shit because people know who I am.
Right.
But he didn't realize he was going to have to walk back that shit later.
But he's not, though. He's not walking it back, though.
So when this man says Roman Reigns is wearing up vests to cover up failed drug tests, and then years later has to say
He said that?
Yeah, he said that in our ROH promo. Here's a cute thing to say. It's just a little Barbie. I'm just being, ooh.
Look at Cal's face.
Acknowledge me.
But then what's he say on the bump? Roman Reigns is consistent. And that's what I respect about Roman Reigns. He is the consistent. He is. So when
acknowledge.
I'm sorry, you gotta chill, Trip. You gotta chill.
No. So that's it. So like,
not
so
my
So Dave Meltzer says no other company has sold out 10,000 seats in the US. Only WWE.
Yep.
TNA could never do it. ROH could never do it. And that's what they were trying to do with ROH. They are trying to build that up. But then what do they say? Let's just do it on our own. They do All In, which best show that year. And what's he do? He puts himself in the middle of the card because he can't main event. Wins the title that his dad won, gets his moment. And he also needed the most time, obviously, because that's the whole thing about that show. They were running late. That's why the main event got cut so short. But that wasn't the match that ran late.
I remember watching this match, and I feel like it took 15 years for him to finally draw blood when he was. I was thinking
that's the first thing about him when he gets on the new scenes. Like, you gotta bleed like my daddy bled. Like, I got hard times. Like, you gotta run the razor. You gotta
look at him.
Yeah. And at that time, I was, you know what, cool for him. He can say like he held the same title his dad held.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it. But
he did it.
But that's the time when I get into town. I'm like, so this really is just all about you. It's not about the Young Bucks.
I hate you.
It's not about the Young Bucks trying to prove that they are that good, or Kenny Omega trying to say he is the best. It's about him
that
doing
is
stuff. No, not the day part. Like, no, it's about him at the end of the day.
Right.
Because they I feel, I mean, like in the book, do they say like they were trying to do the same thing in ROH, but ROH wouldn't let them in terms of like run it like how they're running AEW? Because that's what you can see. Like they produced in
I don't remember.
The matches for All In, but like ROH, that was an ROH like funded show. Like it was their ring announcers and their like crew and again.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that. I think what I don't think I remember that piece of it. What I do remember is them saying that he gave them a hard time. Like he had them waiting for so long to see if he was going to come on or he wasn't. Like he was being a prima donna without them. Basically, they were trying.
He was waiting for that call.
Yeah, and it was like up until like he ghosted them. I think at some point for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then it was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just do this. But they never felt like he was all in. But I have a feeling they knew because he was a big name. They needed him, and they thought that he would give them a little bit more respect after the All Elite stuff and all of that. They would just give him a straight answer, and he didn't give him a straight answer. Kind of Joe butted them a little bit.
Yeah, I was about to say like they probably felt like they needed him. It's just like the four of them really became the Elite. Him, the Bucks, Kenny Omega, and the whole time Hangman Page is the guy in waiting. Like Cody Rhodes had said like this is the guy who in 5 years will be the biggest star in wrestling. The Bucks had said that. They were like and that's why they were so keen on him. Mm-hmm. Like when he's just this minor member in Bullet Club, and then when they start the Elite, he was working himself up through the card, like the traditional wrestling style. Like you see, they do Double or Nothing. He has the entrance. He has the match with his brother. They both got to bleed. He has to have the moment with his brother, which, again, you got to do the basics before you can move on.
Right.
But then when AEW gets Dynamite on TV, again, he's the first match because you got to see Cody Rhodes first. If you're watching this show, you front and center. He's the first title contender for Chris Jericho. Makes sense. But then after, if I don't win, I'll never be AEW champion, which I'm like, okay. And he never was. I can credit him that he never made himself AEW champion. But then in these interviews, I think in the Shoemaker one, he said, I didn't want to be 15-time TNT champion. And at the time, he was the only 3-time TNT champion. We're recording this on a Saturday. We already know what's happened at Battle of the Belts too.
Right.
But let's not forget that first one at the top. That's him winning the tournament, beating Lance Archer. And what was the takeaway from that match? Oh, look at that belt, so shitty. What did he do? He did Tony Khan. Well, it wasn't ready yet. It wasn't ready yet. It'll look different. Then why'd you have to rush it to hold it? Then the second one is when he beats Brody Lee, the late Brody Lee. Don't forget, he dropped the title to Brody Lee. Brody Lee squashes him. It's like Cody Rhodes is finished. Like, wow, we've never seen him lose like that.
Yeah.
After he had beaten like Mark Quinn, Sonny Kiss, Ricky Starks. What do all these people have in common? They're black. So Cody Rhodes,
black people.
Cody doing this. Interesting. I see.
That was the first dog collar match.
Isn't this Cody Luther King that y'all keep talking about? But he's, how many chances has he given Sonny Kiss and Mark Quinn and all after that? No. Again, are we forgetting earlier in the year he took lashes from MJF? Did we forget that? Did we forget that?
No.
Did we forget that?
That happened. That
happened on national television.
It happened during Black History Month, if I'm not mistaken.
It did happen, Cal. It did. And they had his wife come out and hold him like this.
Yeah. She looked in his ear. She said, "This is what my ancestors had to do." now you know how it feels.
I was going to say, like, now it's your turn, bitch. Like, but no. So and then the sixth.
Sorry.
So go back to that image, Cal. If you will.
Got you.
If he leaves, because I think he goes to film fucking Go Big Show.
Go Big Show on TBS.
But he comes back again with the superstar Cody entrance, like the arena blackout, and like the lights come on. It's his song. He had, oh my God, his hair is dyed black again. It's a new Cody Rhodes. And then that shit was gone like 3 weeks later, and he had dropped like the title of Darby Allin a few months. And then after he drops the TNT title for the second time, he meanders a bit. What am I going to do? I'm lost. We've already kind of skipped over that. Once Dynamite started, he's not in the Elite. He cut the promo where he was like, I'm not even. Well, that's the COVID one. We'll get to that in a second. Like he had already said, like, I'm like, Matt, I'm not even in the Elite. They're doing their own thing. They got the Inner Circle to worry about.
I thought that he was trying to. I thought he was just trying to separate.
He was
allowed.
He was. So when he left, it would be easier.
Mm-hmm. Rightfully so, right? Rightfully so.
Because he had his agenda. With the exception of Hangman Page, they're all still together. Kenny Omega's gone right now, healing up. But like when he comes back, being the Elite, Civil War is going to happen. That's why Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish are with Adam Cole. We're going to get, White Boy Warfare.
White Boy Warfare. Jesus Christ.
But after he drops the title, Darby Allin, someone he tried to like make early on, like he had the match at, I think it was Fyre Fest, where they did the 20-minute time limit draw. Oh, we're forgetting Sean Spears, the chairman, comes out, and of course Cody Rhodes has to take the chair shot to the head. It's a gimmick chair, but I'm still bleeding. Like, yeah, I mean, like, because this is real wrestling. Like, and he always does like he beats his chest and like, oh god, like he gets Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson feuded with your dad. Why would he manage you? Like, because I respected your daddy. Damn it, like
because Dusty told them. Yeah. He told Arn. He told all of them to please take care of my son. Like, make sure you look after him.
No, I know. And again, Arn had been the producer in WWE, so they were already. But he got Anderson to counteract Tully Blanchard with Sean Spears.
Right.
He would like bring, and that's when they kind of like stopped. He had stopped bringing Brandy to ringside because that was the whole thing as well. Like, she'd have to take a bump in the match, and he's like, "No, I gotta like defend my wife's honor, like get that baby face comeback." But then after a while, you can see at the end of 2020. And like all throughout 2021, people had turned on him. They were seeing the guy I was seeing kind of years before, like this guy, he's in it for himself. These matches aren't that good, and he has to do all this extra stuff. He's got to bleed. He sleepwalks through his spots. They just seem so like, all right, now I bounce off the ropes, all right, crossroads, and then I either lose or I don't lose. So Mimi, you like Anthony Ogogo.
Aren't we talking about
no
right now?
Did you like Anthony Ogogo, Cody Rhodes? What did you remember from that?
I didn't like that match. And given our interaction last night, it forced me to I said after this, I'm going to go back because I read about Anthony Ogogo, his whole story. So a lot of my fandom comes from their journey outside of the ring too. Like their background and you know, their trials and tribulations. So I think that I said to myself, after I talk we talk on here, I'm gonna go and I'm going to watch a few matches. I did not like that match. That was the one pay-per-view I paid for because of Anthony Ogogo. I wanted to see his debut match.
He was that horny, damn.
Because his promos were fire.
Whose?
Those promos were fire, in my opinion.
Cody Rhodes?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say, you're not gonna say America, damn it, was fire.
No.
Because let's not forget, that's what that feud was.
No, meaning Anthony Ogogo's. Like, he was like that streets of London, streets of London, like talk. Like, that is, for me, it made me feel like he was a tough guy. You know what I mean? Like, they were gonna have a brawl. And I was like, okay, it was a good showing, but it was evident that he was a newbie coming into.
Yeah, it was always going to be a tough sell.
Yeah.
But
it was like, oh, okay. But I was just, he got hurt in that match too, right?
No, I can't remember because he gets injured shortly after. Yeah.
I feel like either something happened or he went back home and then he was stuck in London for a very long time.
But let's not forget. So again, the whole point of this feud was America.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on one sec. He was injured already. What the fuck? I'm not. Ogogo suffers broken ribs days before Double or Nothing, but he still had the match.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he does a fucking frog splash.
That was his thing. His thing is he used to fight. He used to box.
Yeah.
And I was just like, my God, this guy is tough.
Yeah, he's a medalist. I think he's a gold medalist, right?
I think so.
Or a bronze. He's a medalist in like one of the Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, I was just kind of like, wow, he's a tough guy. I love his journey. I read about his background and him wanting to transition in. I just started watching that, and the promos were just fire to me, you know.
He was a bronze medalist in the middleweight division at the 2012 Olympics as an amateur.
In London.
In London town.
See, and they did that correctly. As this is being recorded, we're in the week of Saddam Singh. They debuted Anthony Ogogo correctly. Mm-hmm. He shows up. They had already announced, like, early on when AEW was started, they were doing the so-and-so is all elite, so-and-so is all elite. And he was one of the early ones. And he had spent time at the Nightmare Factory getting ready. So when they debuted him, it would be a big deal. Mm-hmm. They didn't turn out the lights like Saddam Singh. I think he had showed up with QT Marshall when QT Marshall had betrayed Cody and all that. But so Cody Rhodes says the whole, like, America, the British, you know, it has history, you know, the redcoats and all that. And I'm like, so Mr. My Wife, and she will be a half black, a half white princess, and he wants
my wife.
He wants to beat the black British man, which he did, but he can put over QT Marshall weeks later. That don't make sense. Make that make sense when this man is, you know, freedom rider Cody Rhodes. Let's talk about that, because you don't like to talk about shit for a minute. You know, you see a picture of Bianca Belair and him, and you're like, oh, and then like, nah, he didn't put this man over. I ain't forget.
Yeah, he didn't.
And that's what y'all don't want to hear. I am trying to tell y'all. But y'all
when Drip is right, he's right. But wait, Drip. So, because there's a clip of you on the pod. When was that? Where's that? Is that? Am I jumping the gun? Is that too early?
We're about to get there. We're ramping it up. We're
almost there.
Because after that, what does he do for?
Well, you mentioned the COVID.
That's how we're gonna end it, because that'll make much more sense then. But I'm like, so that's Double or Nothing. All Out. What's he do at All Out? Nothing, right? Let me double check that real quick.
November.
September.
Yeah, that would have been.
What was All In?
No, they call it All Out because they can't get the rights to All In. Remember?
Yeah, it was All In that one year.
All In was the show that started it all. All Out is what they call it now because.
So QT.
I think he might have missed that show. That's when I think he was taking his fucking break again. Of like, I gotta leave. He was doing the I gotta leave, so when I come back, it's a big deal. That's when I was getting sick and tired of his shit. Like,
yeah, he took a hiatus, and then he
took multiple hiatuses. Was the thing? It was just like
it's funny to see it.
Return pops. That's all he wants is return pops. Like,
he's Malachi Black. He came back.
But also,
he came back for him. Okay.
He came. They were beefing, and then he came back.
That's what I was gonna say. I thought he was doing something in between, but like, don't forget, he's like, he comes back. He's got. I think R. Anderson already said like, you ain't the same. He was giving like the Mickey Rocky like pep talk almost, and then Malachi Black comes out like he hits the black mass, and it's like, oh, okay, like they're gonna have a feud, and then Andrade shows up. He's got to fight all the newcomers now. He was making himself the Dolph Ziggler of AEW, which is weird. He already had said, like, again, he wasn't going to challenge for the world title. That's not happening ever again.
Right.
He already had tried to put MJF over early on, and we kind of see MJF in the same fucking spot. So, I mean, okay, that's more on Tony Khan being the bad booker, which at the end of the day is the most interesting thing because we've already talked about the the throne, the sledgehammer, Brandy Rhodes, latching himself onto people, starting a company. It sounds very Triple H-esque. The Click, Vince's daughter, NXT, a guy who's not that great in the ring, but will do all these smoke and mirrors to make people believe he is. He'll get the big grand entrances again because he's not the star that he thinks he is. He'll sell it to you. So at the end of the day, that's what he's like really doing. He's Triple H.
Damn.
Do you not agree with that, Mimi, or are you just stunned?
Absolutely. No. He said it. He admitted in media, on national, international TV, if you will, on the bump, on this YouTube, on this media junket that he went on. Like, he basically said, Triple H is my favorite wrestler, and I was being mean. I wanted to hurt him. I was mad. Like, I'm mad that Cal is flaunting this belt in front of our faces every 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so we can't see it. And so and so for me, I feel like
and this makes sense to me because I didn't like Triple H.
I never liked Triple H either. I never liked him either, but
only as the booker of NXT. That's the only time I've ever been a fan. And the thing I wanted to know since his departure from AEW now is, what did he have a hand in creating and producing in terms of their television? What matches did he book? What stories was he behind? They don't do the stuff like WWE will do, like so-and-so produced this match.
Right.
They don't do any of that, but it's largely led to believe that it's Tony Khan at the end of the day. And that's where I said a few weeks ago, and I think Mimi disagreed when I said, like, I think the main reason he left is he was bitter that he lost a power struggle in terms of who's controlling the show. Early on, it seemed like it was an overall group effort. They all wanted to do their own things as well in terms of being in charge of their own stories, which is why he would leave and come back because he can do what he wants. That's why Kenny Omega and the Bucks were like trying not to book themselves at the top of the card early on because it just seemed like, oh, of course, the guys who are the EVPs are going to make themselves the winners. They're going to give themselves all the belts. The Bucks lost to Private Party. They didn't go into the tag title tournament.
Right.
They were doing all this extra, so it wouldn't seem like them at the top of the card until COVID hit, where they basically kind of had to do it like as a last resort, like, fine, we'll finally pull the trigger on this stuff because we really need to, like, and it's the time to. It's been a year and a half in.
Mm-hmm.
But with him, it was always like, just like his dad, if I'm not the champion, my story is the second biggest story. Just like Triple H. If he's not the champion, I'm wrestling the Undertaker at WrestleMania because I have to matter. And I'm like, I've never been like a fan of Triple H. I mean, and with him, it just reminded me a lot of that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, like, you're not as good as you think you are. You got to look in the mirror and realize that. You can try to make yourself seem like you're this big deal. Again, the COVID promo happens. That's all he wants at the end of the day is this spotlight as
this moment,
this superstar. That's why he shows up on Raw after Mania. He's the first one, which is, it's smart. We all want to know what he had to say.
Right.
But that's what he wants 24/7, 365 is this.
So I'm
with or without the title. He wants that spot.
He wants to shine. And so I'm gonna touch on two things. So with Triple H, yes, I wasn't a fan either. Watching him during his time, I wasn't a fan of it. I really wasn't into the whole booking thing. I just felt like he played a really good heel, especially in the Authority, especially during that whole run trying to get Roman over. I really didn't understand it until I found out that he was behind NXT, and I started watching NXT. And that's when I understood that he understands the business, not necessarily just in the ring, but he understands how to make a star. And then I had to watch his journey in terms of evolution, DX, evolution, and all the characters he had to kind of get through.
Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah, like all of
Michaels is second, leader of DX.
All of that. And
the game.
Through all of it and he's been through all of it. So now he's in NXT, and it makes sense why NXT, the gold brand, and gold and black for me is the best.
Yeah. I'll talk about that in a future White Noise being fan.
For me, because I felt like he was running it as a small business, and he was touching every aspect of those characters. And I think that's why when you see those pictures of when they win titles and they're crying and he's like, they're having these intimate moments.
The Triple H point.
All of it matters because he understands what that is. He understands business. And I think at some point, something must have happened within his life to change him as a person. And so all of that evolved into the brand. So you can see like there was a lot of love put into that brand. So that's where I say, I feel like if Cody coming back, yes, I see all those aspects of him, but I feel like he's going to take a turn. He's going to take a turn at some point where he's just going to be a different Cody Rhodes, but he belongs at the WWE. That's where he belongs.
100%.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about the NXT thing, and I say like it'll be a future episode one day, is the irony of that was Triple H was making stars that were very reminiscent of the guys he wanted to put over. The Eddie Guerreros, Chris Benoit's, the Rob Van Dam's, Chris Jericho's, guys that he made sure like, no, stay over there. This is where we are. And Cody Rhodes, he didn't do that in AEW. I could say that. It was weird because, so he puts over Malachi Black and then puts him over a second time. I had said on air that BRP that week, I'm like, because that was the Grand Slam show. It's like Cody Rhodes is coming back to fight Malachi Black, and Malachi Black's still on. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then when he has a feud with Andrade, Cal, this is when he can play the famous clip, because this is when you said he had to go through all this. He had to bring in fire and tables and go through it. And what did I say, Cal?
So, yeah, I like Cody Rhodes. Just retire, bitch. Ain't no one trying to see you work your ass off to put on a 3.5-star match. You make that look like a struggle.
A struggle. Because that's what it... No, that's him in the match. He's like... it's like he's got to do all that. I'm like, dude, I'm not that impressed. Like, I'm sorry, maybe, and I can maybe I'm a different type of fan. But even when you could do all the bumps and the tables, again, him and Shaq, they had to crash through 2 tables.
Yes,
he skipped over that. Like this, he will forever be linked to Jay Cargill, and that's what we should be. That's what we should be pissed about at the end of the day, and possibly Ricky Starks as well. Which I'm just like, fuck. He had to be the Triple H in NXT. Like everything great about NXT is Triple H. Like
I forgot that he had to be the guy to help introduce Jay Cargill to the world.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
That's
right.
He's in the promo. She comes out and everyone's like, "Wait, who? Wait a minute!"
And it resulted in this.
Yes.
Jesus, that was super cool.
I remember why that was like maybe because I wanted to see Jade, and because I saw the promos and I was like, oh my god, like I was just so fascinated and enamored with her. And then I heard Shaq was going. I was like, wait, and that was around the time I was there, so I was like, wait, I thought Shaq was on our side, and so that was a big deal inside that.
You heard her say our side. That's crazy.
He left.
That's funny. She's
doing something real quick.
That's our side, though. That's funny. This was crazy, though.
Oh my god! nutso. Okay.
The show man though. He needed those moments. We also didn't talk about and I kind of just well I'll show what I want to show in a bit. Because I don't want to waste the image. So you were saying earlier, Drip, you think it was this relationship that ultimately soured Cody on staying at AEW?
I think out of the four of them, he was the only one that probably realistically wanted a book. I think the Bucks want to wrestle, but didn't want to wrestle at the schedule they were wrestling to get to where they're at now.
They wanted a home.
They wanted a home and be well paid instead of having to travel all over, which is why, which is why I think they wanted to stay in ROH and do this in ROH. But if I'm not mistaken, ROH is probably like, we can't give you guys booking control because that just wouldn't look right. But it's like, well, we're kind of responsible for this being a big deal right now, and also the relationship with New Japan, which they were in as well.
Right.
I think Kenny Omega at the end of the day just wants again to wrestle, do his stuff, and as you can see, he stepped back from producing the women because he was kind of doing a bad job in people's eyes. And again, his best strength is that he's again Kenny Omega, the best bout machine. The Young Bucks, same thing. Super Kick Party, and Ultra Drive, like these are wrestlers. Cody was the only one who was, and I don't want to say sports entertainer because I hate that phrase, but he was a pro wrestler, and he was he was a WWE superstar, which is why he fits where he's at now. And that's my whole point. Like, he wanted to win the indie fans over so bad and prove he belonged. And I'm like, that's admirable. But every match it'll just be looked at like these guys are carrying you because you're fighting to win. I mean, a battle you can never win because you're on the indie scene where these are truly the best wrestlers that haven't been signed yet, and you're making sure you're having a match with them to show that you can hang. But they'll always be like, well, I mean, I guess. There's takes two to tango, or someone carried so and so like a backpack. And with Cody Rhodes, I always felt like it was the latter. Like he's always being carried. Like you see him have, again, 3.5-star matches. That's what most matches are on TV, but that's him every single time. Yeah, I'm saying like the match of him and Miz this week. It was a good match. It's a TV match. It was what it was. Didn't need to be anything more. But that's the match he would also have at WrestleMania Backlash, most likely with him. Instead of Seth Rollins. And again, Seth Rollins has to.
And that is what you mean.
Yeah. Like him and Seth Rollins, again, Seth Rollins has to do the Phoenix Splash where he lands on the feet and Cody, because it's Seth fucking Rollins. Like, he does this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Cody Rhodes, same thing. Just Seth Rollins is here. Cody Rhodes is here. Right. It's kind of always been that way.
I also get a kick out of we mentioned it earlier. I always got a kick out of Arn Anderson being the guy that was with him. But who do you think was in the room when they were like, all right, so what we're gonna do is have this promo going, right? We're gonna be in the middle of the ring, then Arn Anderson is gonna act like he's holding a Glock to the side of Cody's head. Was that a Cody idea?
Yeah, I think everything he did was his idea. That's why he had. Wait, what did you say, Mimi?
His idea? Everything he did was his idea?
Yeah. I'm telling. I don't think Tony Khan was telling him what to do. I think he was in charge of it.
Mimi, you said that was scary?
Some of the things that he was doing was a little like, why are you doing that? That doesn't make sense.
It's all him.
Wow. I didn't realize that. I thought it was a collective effort.
No, it's these two.
No, I really think at the end of the day, it's cool because you look at the stuff he was doing. Again, the 10 lashes. Whose idea? Who would come up with that?
The fire was his idea?
Yeah. How am I going to earn these people's respect? How am I going to get these pops?
By burning your back?
Yeah. They like when people go through tables. What if they like it even more when they're set on fire?
Mimi, don't forget, he took that cutter off the ladder in that match when Sammy Guevara won the title from. Yeah.
And I was about to say, and this is the final piece of this AEW puzzles. So again, he's meandering with Malachi Black, Andrade. He's facing these newcomers. And the thing is, again, what's he doing just facing so-and-so? And Sammy Guevara becomes TNT champ. He beats Sammy Guevara kind of out of nowhere. Where it's all right, this guy just won the title and you just beat him. Okay. He can't make the next show where he has to defend it. They make an interim title They slot in Dustin Rhodes because he's his brother. He can fight for him, I guess. Sammy Guevara wins, so he's kind of the champ again.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have to do the whole who's the champ? Is it Cody Rhodes who never lost it? But it's it's been a week and a half. Why are we having it's not that big a deal? Be like, we don't know who champ is. It's like it could just been a number one contenders match. You have to do the whole runaround of interim champ.
That's probably
not the real title. That's the real title.
But that sounds like somebody who's a little nervous about their.
That sounds like someone who has a checklist in his own company. Like, I gotta do all this before I leave again.
No, of course. But what I'm saying is, that the interim title, all that stuff, that sounds like TK. We got to call an audible somehow because we still need to have the title on TV or whatever.
Oh yeah, no. Again, he's Charlie Day and Always Sunny. Scatterbrain, see, run over here, that's Tony Khan.
Yeah.
On Twitter and in the booking office, that's him 24/7. So once again, all right, I gotta have a ladder match. I think one of the few ladder matches they've had in AEW just for singles. And again, who will be the real TNT champion? Mr. I didn't want to be 15-time TNT champ has to defend the title that he's so burdened with carrying and all that, and building up the mythology for it has to again take the crazy ladder run from Sammy Guevara. So again, he'll be linked to that moment long after AEW is bought by WWE in 2 years. All of that.
I'm trying to find a good image of that cutter. I'm sorry.
You're muted if you don't know.
You think so?
Banks and I from the start have said 2024, this company's gone. Something will happen.
2024 is crazy.
Yeah. I think they're Icarus. I think they're flying too close to the sun and then they'll get burned.
2024?
That's a good analogy. I think they're in trouble a little bit too, but I'm hoping for the sake of the business, they have to be somebody has to come in and do something.
And the only
reason something else aside from WWE,
unique competition.
All that. Well, that's why Impact's still been around, and that's crazy to think about. Again, he had his brief stint there. That was the whole thing when he got on the Indies. I have to go wrestle in ROH, PWG, New Japan, Impact. I gotta go to all these places. Again, like the politician he is, which I called him out the night after WrestleMania. Everyone's like, damn, no, he's a politician. He shows back in WWE, says all the right things. He I saw the clip where he's like, Denise Salcedo's right there. He's like, he's got to work the writers and get get their approval. We can talk. Yeah, ask me anything. I'm an open book.
He talking to all the writers.
Shake the hands, kiss the babies. It does it all.
He's not.
I got to go on the bump, and I got to.
I forgot he was on Impact. This is nuts.
Yeah.
Jesus. Anyway, I'm sorry. I mean, it's been everywhere.
Does that seem like a guy who would go to Impact, or is he lowering himself to earn people's respect because that's what matters?
Does he go to NWO?
That All In match was an NWA title match. They were literally fighting for not this title, but this title.
And then he drops it again, and they called us a few weeks later. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You can put it down now. You can put it down.
World's heavyweight champ. How much sold?
But I'm not mad at him for because he didn't sell out. He was already there before. How's that selling out? He's just going back to where he went. I don't believe any of that. Where oh, I'm mad he betrayed the Bucks. I stopped caring about the Bucks and the Elite and all that. Once AEW started, in terms of Dynamite, I haven't watched Being the Elite since, except the one time where they brought.
Is it still going on?
Yeah. That's what's so stupid about it. I'm like, you guys have a real TV show. Why are you doing all this?
That's
because
stupid.
because they have YouTube subscribers and all. They gotta,
Oh, so move those over to.
Yeah, good luck with that.
From the start, they should have put it with AEW Dark. The first hour is Being the Elite, and then you have 2 or 3 matches.
Yeah, 302 episodes.
But no one's smart over there to think of the basic ideas like that. That's the thing, because that's their freedom. If they were to decide to leave one day, they don't want to leave that in the hands of Tony Khan.
I mean, I can understand it, but I also think it's as you can see if you watch Dynamite, it's not easy to book everybody all the time. So I think the beauty of Being the Elite, from what I've seen, is there are it's almost like they take Dynamite offline, and you can see it in other arenas, and you can get more insight. There was a I forget what battle royal it was, but there was a slip.
Matt Seidel won I think it was the Double or Nothing one where he slips.
Michael
Nakazawa had greased the ropes.
I remember that. Yeah.
They did a whole.
Well, that's how they told stories through New Japan ROH when they started like we're building our own stories over here. So when they play out on the TV, you'll be like, oh, if you're watching that, it's the Leonardo DiCaprio. Wait a minute, like.
But I get it. It's dope. It would just like imagine if they took that creativity and like applied it a little bit to the television product.
That's why I stopped watching. I'm like, you're wasting time because you're not explaining any of this. And I guess because it's all kayfabe, like they have so-and-so hang out with so-and-so backstage. Like, because I was always thinking it's always like legit inner work. That's why it was so smart, like how they built all in with it, with like these Triple H references, and they called Redacted Skrull 205 Live Cruiserweight. So when he had his match with Okada, the crowd would like chant 205 Live. And that's how they built Hangman Page and Joey Janela. And then because he had killed Redacted Riot, Joey Ryan and all that. They were smart with that show to build. That was their, like, here's our test reel of, like, what we can do if we had a company. Right. They don't do any of that with a company is the thing.
Redacted Squirrel. Jesus.
Skrull, not Squirrel.
Same difference. Same squirrely motherfucker. So what's next?
You said it at the start of the show, Cal. This man will be champion. Because what we didn't talk about it this week on BRP. What was the one thing on the docket that we didn't touch about? Who is the number one babyface on Raw according to this report by
Cody Rhodes?
Who?
I don't remember who had the report.
It was let me check. There was a report that went out this week saying that they were giving the top baby faces and heels for both Raw and SmackDown. Currently on the list, Cody Rhodes is listed internally as number 2 on the Raw brand as a number 2 babyface, with Bobby Lashley being listed as the top babyface. AJ Styles is number 3 for anybody wondering.
Nowhere, and Finn Balor is nowhere near it.
Nowhere to be found. On the SmackDown brand, there wasn't a lot, although they did list that Drew is the number 1 babyface, and Roman Reigns is listed as a top heel for SmackDown and is not listed on the Raw roster because he did say after his Mania win, the SmackDown title is his baby. He said, this is my baby.
Well, it's only a matter of time until they split it up again, as we all speculated. I think that was
they have to split it up because there's no way.
Is there no way? Because again, the Raw after Mania, Cody Rhodes stands on them ropes, gets in that ring, cuts a whole promo, and the whole point was back in September of 1977, my daddy was fighting for this title. Mm-hmm. The title that Hogan held, the title that Triple H held, the title that everybody's holding, the title that Roman's holding right now. He said at some point, is he about to be taking on Roman at some point? Do y'all see him competing? Everybody said he's such a WWE guy.
Not before Seth Rollins.
This is his home. You think it's going to be Roman Seth and then Roman Cody?
Maybe Roman Cody. Maybe. It depends on what the Tribal Chief wants.
I forgot.
So we're saying that at WrestleMania Backlash, Seth beats Cody, challenges Roman, wins the title, brings it back to Raw. Cody and him have the rubber match for the title. What, SummerSlam? Is that what we're thinking? Because again, it's in July, so we have Backlash in May, right? And then the next pay-per-view after that is where they can have Seth and Roman, and then Cody Seth could main event SummerSlam unless Roman Reigns has a superstar opponent. Because that's the only thing about Roman Reigns now is like it has to be Cody because they've told a great story, which you talked about on Turnbuckle. It does not have to
be Cody.
No, it does because I'm saying because what you guys talked about at Turnbuckle Spaces, not this past Friday. I mean, not this last night, the week ago. Mm-hmm. And this is what they were doing in AEW with Kenny Omega: is you tell the hero's journey, but as a champion, you beat one guy, you beat 2 guys at one time, you beat your former rival, you beat someone who you've never faced before, you do all that. And Roman Reigns right now, it's like, who could he face? besides Cody Rhodes. He's already beaten Drew McIntyre. We don't need to see that again. I mean, it'll just
we're gonna see that again. We're gonna.
I know, but I'm just saying, like,
I think what'll happen. I think what'll probably happen is Drew will probably either Randy or Drew will go over on Roman to separate the titles back, because there's no way that they're going to leave Roman. I don't think. Let me rephrase that. I do not think that they will leave Roman without a title unless Roman is leaving to do something.
He's at least holding the SmackDown title, but I'm just saying that y'all don't think we're gonna get this at some. This has to happen at some point, right?
But it will happen, but I think it'll happen when he's ready to leave. And right now, the reports are allegedly that there's no plans on taking any titles off of him.
So leave for what though?
Huh?
What did he leave for?
He ain't got nowhere to go.
Hollywood.
Hollywood's not realistic for Roman Reigns. Let's just stop with that right there. I'm sorry.
What are you talking about? He has a look. What are you talking about? He doesn't have to speak.
Drip.
He doesn't have to
I know, because he did it in Hobbs and Shaw. I was like, yeah, we don't need to see that again.
Wait, Drip. Talk to any woman that you know that watches SmackDown. Ask them. Any woman that you know that doesn't watch wrestling. Ask her what happens when they see Roman Reigns pop up anywhere.
We don't have to ask. They go out and say it themselves.
I'm not going to say no names. I pop on the timeline Saturday morning. That's a sexy motherfucker. I'm like, oh.
So he can't even be Jason Momoa like, because
she wasn't even feeling him like that. I see you.
That's a sexy motherfucker.
PWGP.
But he can't even be Jason Momoa like, because Jason Momoa like does the Jason Momoa stuff. And the stuff that someone like him would do. He does top tier stuff and lower tier stuff.
Watch your mouth.
I'm saying Jason Momoa will do a Netflix movie and then do Dune. He covers like his bases as like.
All I'm saying
there's
is
not a spot for Roman Reigns as like a tall, handsome guy with long hair and scar. Like
there's always a spot.
All I'm saying is because
this isn't talking spears or taking spears, whatever you and
I don't know nothing about that. All I'm saying is if the talk at the end of this year is going to be Roman Reigns and The Rock at Mania.
We're not doing this again, Cal. I swear we're not doing this again.
We're not doing what again?
Acknowledge me.
What I'm saying is if the Rock is already in bed with NBC Universal, he's got the young Rock. They teased the match on the show.
Acknowledge.
But
wrong one.
They teased the match on the show. The show reruns on Peacock. Peacock would be airing the rest. Like at some point, there could be anything. The Rock's going to be Black Adam in a movie. Roman could be some type of random in the background to then be pulled up for the foreground in a Black Adam 2 to get a bigger.
I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying he won't succeed in Hollywood like that. And then we're not talking Roman Reigns. I'm saying I like Roman Reigns. When Roman Reigns outside of wrestling, it's always so weird because he's not the energetic personality like a Big E.
They ask for Roman Reigns outside of WWE. They ask when they want somebody to host something, with somebody to sit on some panel, somebody to read off of an MTV card, New People Choice Awards. They ask for Joe. I not know why.
He be out. I'm not as quick
Bianca Belair. That's who they asked for.
I'm sorry, did Big E not do the title fight? Why didn't they get Roman Reigns?
What are you talking about?
What I'm saying.
What title fight was that a few months ago that Big E did the intro for?
Big E was doing everything though. He was everywhere.
Yeah, he was doing everything too. He's on that list now. But don't get it twisted.
Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. That's what Big E did. Yeah, why didn't they get Tribal Chief Roman Reigns? Because it'd just be like,
Roman Reigns does what
I am Roman Reigns. I'm not gonna do what Ellis does with the I'm gonna smash. I'm gonna like, no, that's what I mean. Like Roman Reigns, you see like on sneaker shop, and he's just like, yeah, sneakers, yeah, they're cool, yeah.
No, hey,
that's more Keanu Reeves, but basically that's what he is.
Don't do that.
Or you see him on the Tonight Show, he's like, Yeah.
Don't do that.
He's not that person. I'm like, he's the Undertaker. Like, he shows up, does his job, like, and he's not that personality outside of the ring. It's like,
again,
Mark Calloway's like, I think it's a good idea what they're doing right now.
I'm not trying to flex, but they sent Roman Reigns out to do the Hobbs and Shaw press. This was at Complex Con.
You flexing.
I was just there. They said they literally.
I was looking at him like every woman looks at him like.
Yes.
No.
I was acknowledging. I was acknowledging. He know what happens when the tribal chief walk in.
I was working. What had happened was.
What had happened?
Wait a minute.
You don't have to explain. You acknowledge.
No. What had happened was Hobbs and Shaw was Universal. They bought space at Complex Con. And I think they did something where somebody was able to design produce a commercial or something with some type of, there was something that people could do, get interactive. The guy who won the contest was able to go. And they always have some type of star or somebody in the building. Roman Reigns happened to be the guy. I don't know if it was in Chicago. This was not too long after him and Taker were teaming up. He had just gotten back.
This is a good match that people don't talk about. But go ahead.
Oh my God.
And they said, hey, we got Roman Reigns coming in. Life of Complex, you could do a search. Roman Reigns, Life of Complex. And we had a conversation with the tribal chief. Am I gone?
Yeah, someone's going out now.
Yeah.
I think Mimi's gone too. I don't know. She was just standing real still.
I'm slow because I'm like,
you're slow. You're like, Mimi's just like a mannequin. I was like, I think I'm the only one here. Like,
nah, but
I was like, what?
That was just me on camera being an interviewer. Don't get mad at me because I get to have a conversation. He was explaining something, cooking food, being with his children. I forget.
And what was his interaction like? How did he feel natural? Did he feel like the like your boy just talking to you? Like, how did
supernatural.
I think that's what he is like in these appearances. And I'm like, to me, that doesn't really work. No, I'm saying like he's just like he's Joe, like the quiet guy who'll just like talk. I'm saying he's not like, when I think of someone who's supposed to be, I don't want to say because it's John Cena, but again, John Cena will legit show up in the Peacemaker's suit to do these events. Someone will ask him about about You Can't See Me, like Tony Yayo. They asked Roman Reigns, and he's just like, yeah, I think what we're doing right now is it's great stuff, I'm the tribal chief. Yeah. See, I didn't care about shoes until 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I just put on whatever. Like,
I'm gonna look at that because I didn't see that. I've admittedly, as of late, I've not.
But I'm saying there's nothing wrong with being laid back. I'm saying I don't think he's
the
poster boy to be like how Biggie and Sasha Banks and other people can be. Like,
in 2018, I had officially seen every single Roman Reigns interview there.
I bet you did.
Every single promo, every single match. Right now, my interview slots is a little bit like it's up there. I need to go back. I didn't see that Jimmy Fallon interview. I need to go back and see that Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy Fallon's also like a bad interview. Damn. What do you mean? What?
No. What I'm saying is we've spent a good amount of time.
No, yeah, I'm saying we got to wrap it up now because we're talking about Roman Reigns.
Right.
We were good on the Cody talk, and then the tribal.
Well, I mean, when you're a Mimi, you're always going to get 15 minutes of Roman Reigns that no one wants.
And what the funny thing is on the podcast, youtube.com/Black Wrestling, every Thursday.
That's right.
Live on the YouTube. Subscribe.
Look at me doing the Triple H point. See?
But
I'm like your next tag team champions right here.
The one thing is, like, we talk about Roman, but because we don't normally talk a lot of SmackDown on the show, just based off of the way days work and time works, we don't get like in-depth Roman talk. If you're subscribed to the Patreon, I did have a conversation with that guy Greg that is up. You should check that out. It's a lot of fun.
They are subscribed. That's the only way they're hearing this.
Maybe. The thing is at a certain point,
Oh, true. Yeah.
This stuff will no longer be an exclusive to Patreon. Somebody can just click on YouTube and see this. It won't be when the page. Shouts out to y'all who paid the $1. Big shouts to y'all who paid the $10. What I was saying was, hopefully, as Mimi gets comfortable on the podcast more, we'll get to hear more of her insatiable takes over the one and only Roman Reigns. We'll see.
We probably need to do a little roundtable on the evolution of Roman Reigns. I've been wanting to do that for years.
I wouldn't mind that because I've always thought he was a good to great wrestler with just a bad character. Like, I was never a Roman Reigns hater. Oh, he's being shoved down our throats. I'm like, no, this guy has good matches. He's just like as a character sometimes. Like,
Jesus. Yeah, I think Are you saying with just us, Mimi, or you're saying are there other voices?
Well, that's when we'll be talking Spears, as we talked about, or Taking Spears. I'm sorry, that'll be the first episode of Taking Spears.
Taking Spears is crazy.
But hang on, real quick, before we officially wrap up and everyone says where they can be found. Mimi, do you agree now with how I was reacting with Cody Rhodes and all that? Does it sound warranted, or am I just a hater? Am I just a
I don't think that you're a hater. I still don't understand why. I still just don't understand.
All right. At the end of the day, again, I don't like how he wanted to try to win everyone over on the Indies and do all this again just to be back where he was and try to prove he was this big star when.
But that's the point.
Really was.
Point was.
I know that's the point, but I don't like him for that. Again,
you know,
like he used them. He used the fans. He used the wrestlers. He
used the indie movement and making another company to build a rival just to abandon ship because
you know why?
Again, we forgot, like, he's the one who legit instigated this war out of the four of them. He was like, us against them, us against them, us against them.
I thought it was Jericho.
Well, Chris Jericho, that's because he's so fucking. That's a whole nother thing. Ugh.
A whole nother thing. But all I'm saying is Cody Rhodes.
But Jericho is part of that too. I'm not getting away with that. He's his own.
Cody Rhodes got how much to go back to the WWE? You know why he did it.
Because I'm here. What the word?
He was in here trying to get paid. That's all it was. I'm sorry. That's all I was.
You don't get paid when you're the one at the top of the company, or when you have a reality show and then another show.
That's different. That's different.
He's probably making a lot more, doing a lot less. If you're the EVP and you have to be on the go.
He was already doing a lot less. Where was the diversity they talked about, huh?
But what I'm saying
all
is
the shit they talked about.
But he also
talked about Blood and Guts. He didn't have the match in Blood and Guts.
I'm not defending, but didn't he also say he didn't like being in the front office? Like, maybe making those promises and then having to act on them isn't him.
He ran from the grind. People say Adam Cole ran from the grind. Shouts to Andreas Hell and Mighty Vin. They're like, because I had said like Cody Rhodes ran from the grind. Like, no, he didn't. I'm like, so the man who's sitting in the office dictating what can happen wants to go back to being a worker bee. That's not running from the grind. Whereas one guy who transitioned from one company to another in the same spot he was in.
What I'm saying is, some people aren't meant to be leaders. And maybe he realized he doesn't need to be and that's fine. If his strength, and because what I'm saying, and again, I'm not defending. What I'm saying is, if everybody can agree that Cody Rhodes is fit for the WWE style of professional wrestling, like what he, even to the point where what he was doing in AEW fits more with WWE. Maybe that means that he didn't need to be in AEW working with these guys, as well as trying to be an executive vice president over this thing. Maybe it was a wrong fit. Maybe he learned, I need to stay my ass in the WWE. It just like Drew McIntyre and some of these other people, where they had to do, I got to eat crow, go over here, figure out what makes me tick and how I can be more presentable for over there. Because Vince loves that. We've said that a lot too.
But he asked for the release. That was what's different about him.
And
I should see you guys earlier. Like, I don't remember when I saw it, but there was like a promo, like a video that him and Brandy made about like Rhodes Industries. It was a failed gimmick that he couldn't get off the ground before leaving.
Right.
I don't know if either of you ever seen that. It was basically, it was supposed to be like him with the suits, and she was like, my man. She said my man like 18 times. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like
that was her gimmick.
She was basically be what she kind of ended up being when he was on the Indies, like as the manager. But it was just like, my man over here like has done this and that. And again, like and he had Rhodes Industries, like Stark Industries, like he had it in the Tony Stark.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is it sounds like he's very idea driven and he's goal oriented. You said you sent me the file. He left and made a list.
Yeah,
he did that. So when everyone he did, like I said, he did that to earn the indie fans' respect. And once he felt like, and he said he did everything he wanted to do in AEW. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like,
but think about this, Drip. Have you ever heard of the concept of a long con? You ever heard what there's ideas?
It's all of this.
Well, no, but I mean, pro wrestling is a great example of the long con. If you really look at like a year-long angle, that's an example of a long con. But there are some cons where it's quick bucks. I do this thing, I trick you, I get $100. There's sometimes where you create a larger story because you know that the money you could get right now is one thing, but the money you could get 5-6 years down the road if you set up all these things right. Maybe that's what Cody did. Maybe this list is only part of the list that he drew up when he asked for his release.
There's another side.
I'm saying maybe it's folded over and you fold it, and maybe there's a couple of other things, and maybe on page 3 it said hit up Vince to go back to WWE. He was. I mean, the funniest thing about this whole conversation is the fact that Cody Rhodes said, if I don't win this, I'm never vying for this title. And then he left the company. So he's not a liar.
Funny how he didn't want to hold the AEW world title because he wanted to hold the WWE title. Seems, again, I
don't know, man. Organized chaos is all I'm saying. It sounds like he's working everybody. And he's the one coming out on top. But
yep.
That's I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take over your show.
No. I think again, that's the argument for like why we should root for him. I guess I'm like, I just never liked you really that much. I don't like it that much. Like,
Trip just said, "Fuck him." All right, we do need to get out of here. Though.
Yeah, all right. So like, White Noise episode 2 is now in the books. I told you I'm gonna make y'all pay me for my time. You want to hear shit like this? You gotta be on the Patreon. Stay subscribed. Recommend. I've already talked about Dwayne Johnson being the fraud enough on Banks versus Davis. I guess I'll have to do it here because y'all don't fucking listen. You don't like Cody Rhodes. You don't listen. So stay tuned to White Noise where you can hear me rant or praise wrestlers, things in wrestling I like or don't like. Jay White, we talked about him in episode 1. That's fucking real wrestling right there. That's a real star.
You got it. You got it, Drake. Keep going. I'm sorry.
But no, so thank you, Mimi, for stopping by. Where can people find you?
I am Mimi Shells on Twitter. This was such an interesting conversation. Thank you so much for having me. You can always find me every Thursdays with the boys at 8:30 at the 835 Club.
Oh, every Thursday now. See, I knew it.
Yeah, let them know that I didn't sucker you in.
No, you didn't sucker me in. It's a good time. You come in and the drinks are good. So you come back, right?
Say less. Jesus.
But no, so wait. Did you think I was going to be more animated or more visceral?
Yeah, because you were extremely visceral.
Drip is drip.
But no, I say like in person, because again, she seen me like pace through this like living room in the BRP frat house. Now because you know what, it was the day afterwards. Now I'm just like, you know what, it's a reality, I guess. But Cal, my co-host on White Noise, where can people find you? The BRP Predictions Champion. Where can they find you?
You can find me wherever the Black Wrestling Podcast. It's at Cal on Twitter, at Black Wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. BlackWrestling.com, where you can find stuff I put up there. You can find a lot of Mimi's writing as well. YouTube.com/Black Wrestling. Black Wrestling can also be found on Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. If you're watching this, you already know about the Patreon, patreon.com/Black Wrestling. Pay the $1 or pay the 10, and get dope content like this and other things. Again, we're trying to figure it out. I will say this conversation was so much fun, and I think I did a decent enough of an editing job where I'm probably going to post this like right now. So y'all are getting this. Hopefully your Saturday's boring, so you can get almost an hour and a half of us talking about Cody and then her going crazy about Mr. Roman Reigns.
That's what I forgot to say when I had the intro in my head. I was like, I forgot. Mimi's the head, much like Roman Reigns is the head of the table. Mimi is the head writer of BlackWrestling.com.
Damn,
Tribal Chief.
And I am your host, Drip. This has been White Noise. You can follow me on Twitter at Davis, aka Drip, Instagram Davis:DC. If you want to hear me talk about movies, TV, other stuff, Banks versus Davis on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I will one day be your future BRP predictions champion, but for now I am the J White Boy of BRP, the sensitive lover boy. And what else do I have to say? I guess I've always been the same, Drip. Nothing's changed. Dallas didn't change me. I guess I've always been the undisputed hater at some point, but peace.
Peace.